The birth and evolution of the GM TH400 transmission. GM TH400 is one of the most famous automatic transmissions ever made. This transmission changed the game for powerful cars and trucks. Known for its strength and reliability. In cars and trucks from the 1960s through the 90s, you'd often find the TH400 under the hood, handling big engines with ease. Many performance fans and restorers still swear by it today. But what made the TH400 so special? How did it come to be? And how did it evolve over the years? Keep watching as we uncover the birth and evolution of the GM TH400 transmission. The GM Turbo-Hydramatic 400, or TH400 for short, came out in 1964. General Motors made it because they wanted a strong, reliable automatic transmission for their rear-wheel drive cars and trucks. Back then, automatic transmissions were getting more popular in the US. And GM knew they needed something tougher than their older models. The TH400 was built to handle more power, especially from big V8 engines you'd find in muscle cars and heavy-duty trucks. When the TH400 first showed up, it was a big step forward in how transmissions were made. Before this, GM used the Power Glide and older Hydramatic transmissions. Those worked okay, but often struggled with high power, breaking down or needing repairs more often. The TH400 fixed this problem. It had a cast aluminum case with the bell housing built in. This made it both strong and lighter than older cast iron designs. Inside, the parts were beefed up and the fluid system was designed to give smoother gear shifts whether you were driving easy or pushing hard. The TH400 had 3 forward gears and 1 reverse gear. The gear ratios were 2.48 to 1 in first gear, 1.48 to 1 in second, and a straight 1 to 1 first in third. This setup gave a good mix of quick acceleration and steady cruising. The gear spacing made it work well in stop-and-go city driving and on highways, even though it didn't have an overdrive gear like some later transmissions, such as the 700R4 or 4L80E. It was still very popular because it was simple and built tough. One big reason the TH400 became so popular was how much torque it could handle, up to 450 foot-pounds right out of the box. That made it the first choice for muscle cars in the 60s and 70s, and for trucks that needed to haul or tow heavy stuff. Inside, it used a big planetary gear set and multi-plate clutches that lasted a long time. These parts were strong and also easy to fix, which helped keep the transmission going for many miles if you kept it maintained. Over time, GM made some versions of the TH400 to fit different needs. The TH375 was a lighter version for smaller or less powerful vehicles. It had a different output shaft and gears, but was basically the same design. On the other hand, the TH475 was a heavy-duty version made for things like motorhomes and commercial trucks. It had stronger parts and a tougher case to handle more stress. In 1990, GM changed how they named their transmissions and called the TH400 the 3L80. Even with the new name, the main design stayed the same. The TH400 didn't just evolve inside GM. As time went on, car makers around the world started using or licensing the TH400 for their own vehicles. This shows how well it was built and how reliable it was. Whether it was in a Cadillac DeVille or a Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow, the TH400 proved it could deliver steady, solid performance in all kinds of cars. The fact that the TH400 was made for such a long time says a lot too. While most passenger cars stopped using it by the early 80s, trucks and vans kept running with the TH400 until 1990. Even after GM stopped making them, the transmission stayed popular. Today, people who build high-performance cars or restore old vehicles still look for TH400 transmissions because they can be rebuilt, improved, and updated to work with modern engines and setups. At its core, the TH400 was made to last. The cast aluminum case gave it a strong base, so it wouldn't warp or crack like some weaker transmission housings did. It's not super light, usually around 135 pounds without fluid, but that weight was worth it because the transmission was tough and reliable. The bell housing was built right into the case, which made the whole thing stronger and helped stop it from flexing when handling lots of torque keys. Inside, the TH400 had a 3-element torque converter, a Simpson compound planetary gear set, and a hydraulic system that controlled shifts smoothly and accurately. The gear ratios weren't chosen randomly. The first gear at 2.48 to 1 gave strong acceleration off the line, which was really important for performance cars that needed quick launches. The second gear at 1.48 to 1 kept the car moving well while lowering engine RPM enough to save fuel but still keep things lively. The third gear was 1 to 1, perfect for cruising on the highway without making the engine work too hard. The reverse gear ratio was 2.07 to 1, strong enough to back up big vehicles easily, even when towing. One of the best parts of the TH400 was its valve body. This part controlled the hydraulic pressure and sent fluid where it needed to go to switch gears on and off. The valve body could be changed or upgraded, so mechanics and performance builders could adjust how fast or firm the shifts felt. For example, race cars could get valve bodies that made shifts quick and sharp to save time between gears. On the other hand, luxury cars had valve bodies tuned to shift super smoothly, almost without feeling it at all. The TH400 also had a vacuum modulator and a kickdown switch. The vacuum modulator used engine vacuum to decide when to shift, adjusting based on engine load. The kickdown switch was near the throttle or gas pedal, and when you press the gas hard, it told the transmission to downshift like when you want to pass someone quickly. These parts work together to make the transmission feel natural and responsive. Maintenance was another big plus. The TH400 was pretty easy to work on, and many parts could be replaced without taking the whole transmission out. For example, you could change the filter by dropping the transmission pan, which was held on by bolts and a gasket you could reuse. The transmission fluid, usually Dexron 2 or 3, was also simple to drain and replace. Doing regular fluid and filter changes could keep the transmission going strong, sometimes for over 150,000 miles. When used for performance, the TH400 often got upgrades like high-stall torque converters, billet steel parts, and heavy-duty clutch packs. These upgrades let it handle way more torque than it was originally rated for. Some race versions of the TH400 can deal with over 1,000 foot-pounds of torque without braking, as long as the internal parts are beefed up. That's why it's popular in drag racing, off-road trucks, and high-performance street cars. Another great thing about the TH400 is the huge aftermarket support. Because so many people use it, there are tons of parts available: shift kits, rebuild kits, high-performance torque converters, and even replacement cases made from stronger materials. This makes it easy for car enthusiasts to customize the transmission exactly how they want, whether that's for towing heavy loads, racing, or everyday driving. Even the simplicity of the TH400 worked in its favor. With just 3 forward gears and a basic hydraulic control system, there's less that can go wrong compared to today's modern transmissions that have electronics and lots of gears. Modern transmissions might give you a few more gears and better fuel economy, but the TH400 is known for being reliable and easy to fix. Its tough design made it perfect for remote or off-grid vehicles like expedition rigs or work trucks in rural areas. The TH400's list of vehicles it was used in is one of the most diverse of any GM transmission. You could find it in everything from big luxury sedans to muscle cars and even some exotic imports. Its ability to work well in different kinds of vehicles and its toughness meant it could handle many jobs with the same level of success. One of the most famous domestic uses was in Cadillac cars. From 1964 to 1979, models like the DeVille and Eldorado Coronado depended on the TH400 to give smooth and easy performance. These cars were heavy and usually had big V8 engines, so they needed a transmission that could handle all that weight and power without any trouble. The TH400 was just right for the job, running quietly and smoothly during normal driving, but also delivering strong and steady power when you stepped on the gas. Other GM brands like Buick, Oldsmobile, and Pontiac also used the TH400 a lot in their luxury and performance cars. Cars like the Buick Riviera, Electra, Wildcat, Oldsmobile 98, and Coronado all came with this transmission during the 60s and 70s. Pontiac's Firebird, Trans Am, and GTO also used the TH400, especially in versions with high-powered V8 engines. The TH400's ability to handle strong torque and shift reliably helped these cars perform the way people expected. Chevrolet's use of the TH400 is probably the most well-known, especially in cars like the Chevelle SS, Impala SS, Camaro SS, and Corvette. These models often had big block V8 engines, which needed a transmission tough enough to handle hard launches and fast driving. The TH400 handled those demands well. It was also used in GM trucks, including the CK series pickups, Suburban, Blazer, and full-size vans. In these trucks, the TH400 was appreciated for its towing power and its ability to handle the stress of everyday work. Outside of General Motors, other companies also saw the benefits of using the TH400. American Motors Corporation, or AMC, used it in Jeep vehicles like the Wagoneer, Cherokee, and J-Series trucks from 1971 to 1979. These Jeeps were often driven off-road or in rural areas where dependability was important. The TH400 gave these vehicles the toughness they needed to handle rough terrain, steep hills, and heavy loads. Even some European and exotic car makers decided to use the TH400. Jaguar put it in some of their XJ series sedans during the 1970s because it ran smoothly and was reliable. Rolls-Royce installed the TH400 in their Silver Shadow from 1968 to 1980, which shows that even ultra-luxury brands trusted this American transmission. Maybe the most surprising was Ferrari using a version of the TH400 in their 401 from 1976 to 1984. Since Ferrari usually designs its own parts, the fact that they chose the TH400 says a lot about how good and flexible this transmission really is. This wide use of the TH400 was partly because of licensing deals, but also because the transmission was already proven and dependable. It could be adjusted to fit different engines and types of vehicles. Its hydraulic control system didn't need electronics to work, which made it easier to fit into many designs. Because of that, the TH400 became one of the most well-known and respected transmissions not just at GM, but in the whole car industry around the world. Even though the TH400 stopped being used in most light-duty vehicles by 1990, it's still really popular today. It's one of the most wanted transmissions for classic car restorations and performance builds. A lot of car fans think it's one of the toughest automatic transmissions ever made, and that's for good reason. It's strong, simple, and there are plenty of parts available. All of that makes it a great choice for lots of different projects. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more car tech and history. See you next time.